Hi kids, it's Miss CJ checking in, telling you that I miss you and I love you and I can't wait to see you again. I know it's been almost 2.5 months for us now because I missed our last couple of Awanas working at school during March Madness when madness took on its own new meaning. It can be described as frenzy or chaotic activity, which definitely describes the past month and a half that we've had going on. Who would have ever thought that my March Madness would go from this to this? And Disney World, that actually showed me in their magazine like this, I never thought would look like this. And I really love going to work looking like this as opposed to being home looking like, well, this or this. So I brushed out my hair a little bit for you so I won't be that much of a distraction when we go into today's quick discussion. Had we been in class in March and in April, we would have had lessons that were kind of centered around some type of theme about spring, and we won't stray too far from that. Since we are sheltering in place, I look outside my big bay window and I see what my neighbors are doing, and when I'm not nosy looking at them, I'm doing the same thing myself. All of us are currently trying to work on our lawns or our gardens. And before you can even have a nice plushy green yard that you can do backflips in or a nice garden to look at, you have to make sure you have the proper nutrients. And that's what we're going to do as we examine our own Christian garden. We got to see first where are our nutrients coming from. And so we'll start out in John chapter 15. I am the true grapevine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch of mine that does not produce fruit, and he prunes the branches that do bear fruit, so they will produce even more. You have already been pruned and purified by the message that I have given you. Remain in me, and I will remain in you. For a branch cannot produce fruit if it is severed from the vine, and you cannot be fruitful unless you remain in me. Our goal is to have our life produce fruit that looks like this. Instead of the grapevine, we'll just simply break it down to a tree. Let's look at the parts. We have the root, the trunk, the branches, twigs, leaves, and hopefully fruit. In John 15, Jesus says, I am the grapevine and my Father is the gardener. Well, let's start with the Father. Here, we don't see a picture of the gardener, but we know that the gardener exists because the proof of his work is visible. After all, it's hard to miss a tree trunk if you're walking past it. And this is not much different than our faith. We have a God that we don't get to see. We don't get burning bushes or get to wrestle with him like people of the Old Testament, but we do know that he exists because we see visible proof of his existence, mainly Jesus Christ. For our purposes, Jesus will be our trunk and the roots in our picture, and you'll see why shortly. But for a quick second, I want you to think about our 4 seasons. Whether winter, spring, summer, or fall, you will always see the evidence of the tree. The leaves might change, but the trunk is there. Jesus is that trunk. No matter what we encounter, no matter what our seasons or circumstances are, he is still the foundation that is always there. Now, I said earlier that Jesus is both the trunk and the roots. Now, normally you don't see the roots of a tree, you see the trunk. And this is why it's perfect for Jesus. He has been both visible and invisible, but his purpose has never changed. He's always been there to provide nutrients and life for us, which brings us to our part. We're the branch. We are an extension of Jesus. We're an extension of his love. We're an extension of his example. And God gave us free will, so we can choose to be a branch or not. But what none of us have a choice about is the fact that we cannot grow as a branch without being connected to the tree. We cannot grow without being connected to Jesus. Hopefully, we all have committed to being the best branch that we can be, staying firmly connected to our Jesus to receive our nutrients of love and wisdom and caring so that we can produce a life that makes great fruit, not only in ourselves, but for the benefit of other people. We read the two paths that the gardener will take when he examines our branch. If we're not producing fruit, we're cut away. Let's avoid that path. Let's go the pruning route. But what is pruning? Okay, class, what we are doing is taking a quick trip to my flower bed that needs a lot of love and attention. But first, we're going to say hi to Vava. If you remember the game lady, she's already celebrating with Jesus. She and I both love the color purple, and her name means butterfly. So I surround my flower bed when it's done with tons of those so I can say hi to her every day. But what I am going to do is come to my hosta plant that needs some love right there. See some broken leaves, but I'm kind of excited because it did not even stick this far off the ground a couple days ago. It actually looked like that and much shorter a couple days ago. But we're going to come over here to our purple plant, and I love this color. I'm going to put more of those in when I get a chance to go to the store. But when I dig away, I kind of see things like this little guy right here that can't do anything for my plant. So I'm just going to pull away at that because it's not going to be much helpful to it anymore. And what I did was just a very short lesson in pruning. God comes in, he examines us, and there's some things that are not Christ-like. He'll pull that away from us. It doesn't kill us. It actually makes us grow back stronger. So let's rejoice in the fact that that same word tells us in verse 3 that we have already been pruned and purified by the message that Jesus gave us. All we have to do is remain in him and he'll remain in us. Stay connected to our source of nutrients and we will be fruitful in our lives. That's step 1 in checking our garden. Next week, let's talk about pulling some weeds. Have a good day.